All right, friends, grab a cup of coffee or tea or whatever hot beverage you like, because we're going to go into what a 100-day sprint is and why I find this method of learning um, so helpful and to the point that you honestly will feel so accomplished at the end of it, like you know whatever it is you're studying. Um, there's something really powerful about writing things down and tracking it. I'm talking manually tracking it. It's so impersonal, in my opinion, to just see your tracking on a screen. Everything is on screens now. I guess I do have a screen sitting on my lap, but that is because I have um, the book I'm writing on. It's digital right now, so that's the reason why I have it on my lap. But you can get this in way more detail. It's the first chapter of the book. So if you download the free sample of it, you will get this chapter completely free. Okay. But I'm just going to kind of talk through it because I feel like it's important to kind of hear it from the perspective of someone who's done it before and then go from there. Okay. So, what is a 100-day sprint? Um, it was actually inspired by my work. Uh, one of my prior jobs. If you've never worked in IT or for a software company, the changes to the software, if there's like a bug or if there's some type of feature they want to add that could affect multiple parts of the application, they do it in sprints. So that's kind of what this was inspired by. And the reason why is because sprints allow you to pivot if you need to. If you discover like something not working, you can, you know, pivot the goal a little. Well, you can pivot the tasks, but still, you're still heading towards the goal, right? So that's kind of a rough explanation of it. Definitely look into it if you're wondering what a software sprint is, because there's two varieties. There's Scrum and Agile, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just telling you that that's kind of what this was inspired by. Okay, so what is a study sprint? Or how do you begin it? Well, first of all, it is 100 days long. So, day one, so every day you do it, it is in the goal of, is in the purpose of the goal, right? One of the ways you get started, though, and you don't count this as part of the days, is you have to, one, set your goal. What is it you want to build? So it's very project based. For example, I'm just going to use learning Python to develop AI agent crew, right? Say you want to make an actual live application. So one, it has to be time bound. So I have to figure out, okay, what do I need to do um, to get there? Now, say if I was a complete beginner and I don't know Python, I don't know anything about web development, um, then the 100 days is not going to really work. It's going to be maybe a little bit too ambitious, right? So that's one of the things you have to make sure. Okay, you can have this far-reaching goal, but what can you do in 100 days? Okay, to get to that goal, which means you probably need a couple of sprints, right? It might be like, say, 2 sprints to get there. But say if you already have a background, like say you already know how to create a website from scratch, say you do know a little bit of programming, say you know like JavaScript, right? Then you say, okay, well, I just need to learn a little bit of Python. And since you already have the know how of how to program with JavaScript, for example, then maybe, just learning how to, one, program in Python and how to create an AI agent crew, would be the two things that you would focus on for this 100 days. And then the next 100 days would be how to add the crew to like a Streamlit application, and then, you know, making it look how you want to look using, HTML, CSS, and then deploying it could be the next sprint. So kind of gauging how much you can do in 100 days is important. You can definitely have that far-reaching goal, but you need to break down that far-reaching goal into manageable chunks. So that's what the sprint is meant to do. Okay. So once you have that goal, that far-reaching goal, and then the 100-day sprint goal, then you, one, write it down. So this is the journal. This is the editor copy. This is the one I can't sell, but I do have this on Amazon, so you can pick it up. It is so it has the 100 days. So you have every day, 1 through 100, and I think it's the second page. Yeah. So the second page is you basically set your goals. You know what you want to accomplish, right? Then the next thing you need to do is, once you have your goal, your far-reaching goal, and then the goal for the 100-day sprint, I want to caveat with your goals, don't tell anyone about them, okay? I made that mistake when I was learning Swift, because I was telling everybody, oh, I'm going to build an app, I'm going to build an app. And I would just tell everybody, And just as a goal setting advice here, then you could take it or leave it. I mean, maybe you're totally fine with telling everybody and you do the, build in public, hashtag on X. Okay, fine. I mean, if you're that kind of person, more power to you. A lot of people, myself included, when you tell people, it gives you a dopamine hit, like you've already completed the goal, or you already completed what you wanted to build. So I want to say, don't tell anyone about your goals. Like, say, if you do want to build an AI agent crew and launch it, and you think it's going to be the next best thing since sliced cheese, I would say keep that to yourself. Or you can tell it to somebody that can directly help you in achieving that goal. Say, for example, you want to build a web application. It's fine to tell, like, say a web developer, say this person is a friend, or maybe you work with them. Yes, tell that person, hey, I want to build, this web application. Can I get your opinion on this or that? That's fine, because that person can directly help you in achieving your goal. Okay. Or say, you want to mentor, or you have a mentor. You can tell that person, hey, this is what I want to accomplish. Can you help me with it? Yes, tell that person, because they can directly help you in achieving that. But telling your best friend Bob, who's an accountant, that you're going to create an application, no, don't do that. Don't, because they'll say, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, and they give you that dopamine hit already. Okay, so just saying. Okay. But if you are that kind of person that can totally do, you can set the goal and tell everybody and their mother, and you still complete it, wonderful. I'm so glad that you're that kind of person. I'm jealous. So after you figure out the goal, the next thing you need to do is do your study plan. So I have one page that you can write out, like, say there's books that you want to read. Maybe there's a couple of courses, say maybe on Coursera, or maybe there's, a couple of tutorials on YouTube that, you feel will help you. That's where you write this down. Now, it should take you, depending on how comfortable you are with researching and figuring things out, it'll probably take you about maybe a couple days. But honestly, I would take about a week to really research, the offerings out there. So, for example, for myself, I wanted to learn, about how to create AI crews, right? So, what I did is, since I already knew web development, I already knew how to code because Swift. What I did is I just researched, okay, I need a book that will just lay it, if I don't have to start from scratch. So I picked up Dead Simple Python, which is meant for programmers that already know how to program. And then as I went through the 100-day sprint, I then decided, okay, all right, maybe this class will help me. Maybe I can, write this down, for things that I need to do. So I have different things on here, like picking up a book about hands-on machine learning. There's a couple courses on Codecademy that I have written down. So the thing is that is what you should be doing. You should be looking at the resources that you have available and what you want to use, at least in the beginning. Now, as you get through the sprint, which I'll talk about, you can adjust. And that's the whole purpose, is every week. So, so here I have day 6 and then day 7. And then after day 7, you have a weekly check-in. So here you write down, the 3 things that you feel like you did that week, how you felt about your progress, and then if you had any interactions with anybody, or say you do have a mentor, and you interacted with them, write that down. And then things you want to do next week, and then any challenges you might have had. And then there's a note section, so that in case, say, you need to pivot, maybe that course you decided to take on Coursera just was way over your head. Maybe you didn't understand the topics, then you can write down, okay, maybe I need to take something a little bit more fundamental to help me complete that course, right? And then the next thing you need to do is you need to basically set up your workspace. So, make sure you have a directory with, a set of subdirectories to store your code, your notes, your projects, any code examples that you come across or that you built yourself, references, things like that. And that's where you will store everything. And then basically your daily routine, the things that you need to do for yourself every day, is very, very, very important. So I know there's a book I probably mentioned in one of my other videos called Ultra Learning, where they say you have to learn everything and you have to pour everything into it. It's true, you do, but the thing is I feel like the focus actually should be on focused work. So just because you do like a day, right? Sometimes your days won't have much notes, and then other days, maybe you just fill out everything, yeah, for example, here I filled out both pages. So basically the idea is to basically split up okay, one, you need to have a particular time of day that you're going to actually spend towards studying. And it's best if you make this like a habit, like something you do every day, or maybe, if things come up, because I know things do come up, it needs to be a habit, kind of like working out, right? You may not work out every day, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's when you go to the gym, right? For example. So figure out your schedule, whatever that daily schedule might be. I say daily as loosely as because sometimes you can't study every day. Things happen, especially if you work full time and you have a family. You have to make it work for you, but it does need to be and needs to become a habit, so that you can complete the 100 days, the focus 100 days, in a reasonable amount of time. There's another thing I also wanted to tell you, especially if you are working full time, you're a parent. The days are arbitrary, meaning you don't have to do it consecutively. Okay? You are tracking the days of actual effort. So, say, for example, on Monday, you wake up early in the morning, you have to like 2-3 hours before you have to go to work or before your family wakes up. And, that is day one, right? Awesome. Write it down, write your notes, do the actions that you need to do, write the blog post, add the code to, your project. Great, right? Say Tuesday. You had every intention of studying Tuesday morning, but, your child had a really bad night and you, needed the sleep because you had to work in the morning. That's okay. All right. Wednesday, you wake up, right? On time, you have like 2.5 hours before work. Boom, that's day two. Okay. So I want you to give yourself some grace. That's one of the things about, now being a parent. Uh, it has given myself the ability to give myself grace and give myself the okay to adjust where I need to adjust. And that's another reason why I like the sprint concept, because yes, you have a goal, but things get in the way. And it happens in software development. It happens so often. You don't even know. And the project has to constantly adjust. It's like 3 steps forward, then 1 step back, 5 steps forward, 2 steps back, and there's always this kind of this juggling act. And so the same thing happens in real life, especially if you are teaching yourself and you're being the type of person who's being self-directed in your learning. So I just want to also share that with you. So what does a focused or doing the actual work look like? So we are very much so a consumption or becoming a consumption like society in general. And people confuse consumption as doing the work, and it is absolutely not. I'm going to tell you right now, reading a book is not action. Watching a lecture on Coursera is not an action. Doing a code exercise on Coursera, not an action. Okay? Um, it's half action, but it's not action. And the reason why I say that is because you have to take whatever you're learning. Say, I read, a book, right? I read a chapter. That is consumption. You're consuming something, right? Action is when you take what you have learned and you've written notes about it on physical piece of paper. You might be saying, well, it's the new age. No. We are very much a primitive peoples. And really, the way to retain knowledge is to convert it into your own words or your own schematics. In this case, in this one, I'm learning about use case diagrams on this page. And so I created my own, I changed what I learned from the book and actually put it on paper in my own words. Drew the little stick people, because I wanted to you need to retain that information. So actions are writing your notes on an actual physical piece of paper with a pen or a pencil. If you're coding, you can take the code examples, make them your own, change the variable names, change the values, do something entirely different with it. Say you do a fizz buzz pop, code example, change it to something else, like make a little, story out of using if cases, if else statements, you know. The thing is, you have to make it your own, okay? You actually have to do the work. So, for example, if you're a little bit more advanced, you know, say you do a tutorial, you look at a YouTube tutorial on how to add user authentication. Okay, yes, write your notes, but then you build that user authentication on your own program. That's doing action. Okay, so the idea is it's 50. I say roughly 50-50. So 50% consuming and 50% doing. Sometimes, actually, I would actually say the best ratio is 40% consumption, 60% doing. Basically, whatever you are consuming, you have to do something with it. Period. If you write notes, great. Oh, another action: writing blog posts. That is an action. Okay, because say you are learning how to program, writing your own notes about it, creating your own examples, and then putting it out there for the world is also an action. Uh, Doing a YouTube tutorial, action. That is absolutely an action. Okay. So the thing is you have to get out of the mindset of just mindlessly consuming, because that's all we usually do. We keep scrolling, we keep swiping, you know, and not making that connection. Uh, and it's very notorious in college too, because you go to lecture, you study just for the test. Then after that, you completely forget everything. After the class is over, you forget everything. So, yes, this is very action based. Okay. So, that is basically it. Now, say if you set a goal for yourself and uh, you did the 100-day sprint, or you're in the process of doing the 100-day sprint, say about day 90, you get done with your project. You built that application. What if you did it early, right? That's great. That's awesome. Take a victory lap, because you obviously set a reasonable goal for yourself, and maybe you got some extra days in there that you just blew through the whatever you were reading or learning, right? That's awesome. Another thing to do for those, say, 10 days that you have extra, you can, if you're building a web application, maybe you can add a different feature, to take you through the full 10 days, right? So that's awesome. If you get through to the 100 days and you realize I am nowhere close to finishing my project, that's okay too. The thing is maybe at the end you kind of look at your goal and say, okay, maybe I was a little bit too ambitious, and that's fine. Usually, what I found when I haven't completed what I wanted to do in 100 days, I go back through my notes, like I go back through my journal and see, like, okay, what kind of happened, because that actually happened with me when I was trying to learn machine learning. I thought I could do it in 100 days, but I realized there was some math that I didn't take in college, and so I had to backtrack and actually take a linear algebra course, because I didn't take that in college. So that was the reason why it set me back and why I wasn't able to complete it in time. So that's why it's important to write things down, to track your progress, because then you get to the end, you're like, okay, what was the reason, and then you can adjust, for the next sprint. And that's a thing that I feel like a lot of, I don't know if you've been to college or not, but that's one of the things that I did like about college. It did give you kind of like different goals, as preset goals, right? But as far as like retaining information, honestly, I don't think I retained hardly anything from college. Sad as that is. Maybe some math. I did retain quite a bit of math, but a lot of the other stuff, no, not so much. So because it's very test driven. You know, you have to get that grade. But, anyways, so that is the 100-day sprint study strategy. Again, you can use this strategy. You can adjust it to learn pretty much anything you want to, but I'm using it for, coding and web development and what have you. But hopefully that was helpful. Again, if you want the nitty gritty detail, um, definitely sign up for my newsletter. It will give you the link to the actual, actual, um, actual book. Okay. The first 3 chapters are free, and the very first chapter is about how to do the study sprint. So you get it for free. If you want to use a notebook, you can use a plain old spiral notebook and write down, the days. But I did create a study journal for 100 days. It has all 100 days. It's quad ruled. No, it's quad dotted. It's really helpful if you are coding and you want to write code down to have the dots, the quad, because it makes everything look so nice. But you don't even need that if you don't want it. I'm just giving it to you because I use it and it's helped me stay focused, because being focused is very, very important. But anyways, this has been helpful for you. Please subscribe. If you want everything I discussed today, like the link to the book, the study journal, sign up for my newsletter. I will give you the links, I should say, for everything. And I'm not going to spam you, okay? I will, if I upload something that I feel will help you out, I will send you an email, like the newsletter, every now and then. But it's not going to be every week or every couple of days a week, because I know how annoying that is. So sign up for the newsletter. We have everything for you. But anyways, I hope you are successful in your coding journey, your study journey, and let me know how it works out for you, because I'm actually curious if this will work for other folks. Again, that's the reason why I'm doing it for free. Because I feel like it's such an important way of looking at self-learning. And I've read books and they kind of gloss through this, but no one really has a strategy. At least I haven't found. If you find one, let me know in the comments, okay? Because I haven't seen anything. But anyways, good luck. Be blessed. Till next time, friends.